On Thursday night, at our worship committee meeting, our chair of worship, Marilee Stevens, opened our committee meeting with devotions, as we try to do in all of our committees. She had an interesting observation. She was in a waiting room in the last week or so, waiting to be called in for something, and she was just thumbing through a Reader's Digest that happened to be on the waiting room end table. It's the October issue of Reader's Digest, and she ran across this article about the importance of thankfulness and gratitude in your life, and what a difference that can make. And so, as part of our opening devotion, she had everybody go around the table and say something that we were thankful for that day. Now, whenever I've done that, I've found it an uplifting, kind of a happily inspiring way to start a meeting. But I never exactly knew why until I went back to look at that article in Reader's Digest that Marilee had referenced. And I read it in entirety and found it rather interesting. It's entitled, "The New Science of Thank You. The two most important words you'll say today can change your life, and research is proving it." It actually was written by Deborah Norville and includes excerpts from her larger work, a book entitled Thank You Power, Making the Sense of Gratitude Work for You. Among a variety of other things, in this book and this article, Norville cites the work of doctors Robert Emmons of the University of California, Davis, and Michael McCullough of the University of Miami. They teamed up together for an experiment, and they got 3 different volunteer groups to examine and focus upon a certain area of their life for one period each week. One group was supposed to focus on the hassles in their life. Actually pay attention to them, make a list of them, things that just irritated and bugged them, like getting cut off in traffic, or being overcharged for something at the store. And then the second group of people was supposed to pay attention to and list once a week blessings in their life. Things like wonderful food and a good family, a boyfriend that's caring, things like that. And then the third group was supposed to just focus on events that happened in life and just list them. Factual things like went grocery shopping, bought shoes, took out the garbage, things like that. The results were rather interesting. It was this group that focused at some point weekly on thankfulness, on being grateful, that demonstrated a greater sense of happiness and appreciation for life. In fact, they also saw themselves over a period of time as being healthier and having a higher quality of living. And the people that were immediately connected to them were interviewed in this study as well. And friends and loved ones saw them also as being more optimistic than they were before, and even at times going out on a limb to help others. Dr. Emmons was rather surprised by this whole thing and comments, "This is not just something that makes people happy, like some positive thinking, optimism kind of thing. A feeling of gratitude really gets people to do something, to become more pro-social, more compassionate, and this did not happen in either of the other 2 groups." Emmons and McCullough then took this 2003 study of theirs a bit further and just recently published the results of yet a follow-up study that took these groups again, but instead of having them focus on and make their lists on these different items of things that bug them, the negative stuff, or the blessings and positive stuff, or just the neutral actions of life, rather than doing that just once a week, have them do that every single day. And then at the end of that point in time, the difference statistically between that hassle group and that blessing group was even more significant. Emmons also interviewed them at the end about other behavioral characteristics like their use of alcoholic beverages, aspirin and pain relievers, and the quantity and quality of their sleep. And among a variety of things, he said, the study found that people who were consciously grateful felt better about their lives, were more optimistic, energetic, enthusiastic, determined, interested, joyful, exercised more, had fewer illnesses, got more sleep, and were more likely to have helped someone else. During this period of the last few years, there's been several other studies along these same lines that link in one form or fashion thankfulness or an attitude of gratitude with other things like clearer thinking, better resilience, a stronger immunities, less response to stress, even things like longer lives, closer family relationships, and a deeper faith. Well, however you read that causality, perhaps this sense of well-being and this healing of spirit is part of what that 10th leper experienced in his life, part of what made him well. And isn't it interesting to us? It would have been unnerving back then, but inspiring today, that the very one who found wholeness and health because of gratitude happened to be a Samaritan. Well, we Good Samaritans have a wonderful opportunity this fall to live up to our namesake, to express an attitude of gratitude and to have a tangible means of giving thanks. We are embarking together on a special campaign entitled Uniting in Faith, Fellowship, and Future. And if you haven't received it already, hopefully you did in the last few days. In your homes, you should have gotten this full brochure that describes this program. And if you haven't gotten it yet, give it maybe another day or two, but if it's not there by midweek, give the church office a call so that we can make sure another one gets resent. And I hope that you'll please take opportunity to read through this material. It describes in a succinct way, I believe, a single appeal that we are embarking on together for two very distinct purposes. One is to support our annual operating budget for 2008, and the second, to address the remaining debt from our facility after our recent renovations that we've now enjoyed wonderfully in the last year. The information is really rather simple. One, and that is that a 5% increase in our operating budget for 2008 will both sustain and allow our excellence in ministries to continue to grow. And second, our capital campaign, if we would raise once again $1.8 million in 3-year pledges, the exact same thing as we did the first time around before we moved into this building, then we would be able to faithfully make our mortgage payments to bondholders for the next 4 years. But anything that we would raise in our capital campaign over 3 years, over and above that $1.8 million, would allow us to directly pay off principal and have a significant interest savings over the life of the loan. What's been absolutely amazing to me, this is the first that many of you are hearing about. It's just being approached to the general congregation now. But our leadership has been involved with this in the last month or so. And as leadership commitments have begun to come in, they've been averaging almost double the monetary commitment in this second capital campaign is what happened in the first capital campaign. If that happened across the board for our congregation, we'd actually be able to retire that entire debt within the next 4 years and save the equivalent of about $1.6 million in interest over the remaining 18-year life of this loan. A phenomenal opportunity is before us. Most of us here are not lepers on our last leg. But all of us can benefit in our personal lives by new ways to express gratitude and appreciation. Financial giving is just one piece of that. But all of us certainly can stand to have committed ways to look at life with a sense of joy and to respond with gratitude for the blessings in our life and find that maybe we ourselves will look more positively and optimistically at the challenges around us. That we will find ourselves growing in health, in body, mind, and spirit. And that we may even feel a deeper sense of joy as we reach out to others. Jesus proclaimed it. Science confirms it. Uniting in faith can make us well. Amen.